once an Eagle, always an Eagle. If you can come up, it'd be greatly appreciated. On behalf of Romulus Community Schools, our interim superintendent, I want to thank you for all your years of dedication. And wish you continued happiness and best of luck on your future endeavors. Have fun. Don't forget us now. I will. Okay. Thank you. You're welcome. You are so welcome. Wow, 25 and a half years. What an amazing feat. So now we're going to go on to our public comment. Do we have? Are there any more public comment slips to be brought up front? If not, before we go on, Madam Secretary, I'd like to have Councilwoman Virginia Williams come to the podium. Yep.
Hello?
Use that voice.
There you go.
Test, 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 test. Test.
Here,
We
use
can
this
use
one.
here. We can use this one.
Test.
Good evening, honorable school board members, interim superintendent, and members of the audience. I'm here tonight to ask that the school board join me in supporting our 4th annual trunk or treat. Our idea is to make sure that the kids are more safer. Going door to door in the time that we're in is not as safe as it used to be. And so what we do, we line up cars, decorate the trunks, and the church allows us to use their field right at Beverly, on the corner of Beverly and Chamberlain. So if the school board will support that, I truly appreciate it.
In terms of support, Councilwoman Williams, you just stand
I'm
for us
sorry.
to pass out the.
Yeah, making sure that especially the elementary and the middle school kids are aware that we'll be there and they're welcome to come.
Okay.
Do you have the flyers to pass out?
Well, I printed out some, but I can get some back to the board office,
Okay. thank
maybe
you.
Wednesday.
Okay, very good, thank you.
Can you just read off the dates and times so that people at home can
Yes,
hear that,
ma'am.
please? Thank
So
you.
it will be Monday, October the 31st, 2022, and that's actually Halloween Day. It starts at 5:30. We was trying to give the parents, enough parents time to get home and get their kids there. The Wayne County Sheriffs will be there to make sure there's no incident. But this is our 4th year, and we definitely is welcoming every student in the Romulus school district, and also the Inkster students. If they have transportation, they're welcome also.
Thank you.
That's good.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Are there any other forms for public comment? Thank you. You can just stay. I guess that's it. So, I'm sorry, Colleen McKay, I'm sorry, the last name? Dumas. Thank you. Colleen McKay Dumas.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
First, I would like to say thank you to our governing Board of Education and the people that's here. My name is Colleen Dumas. I am the new Director of Parks and Recreation for the City of Romulus. And I've been trying to get here to some of the meetings, but I'm also an educator, so I do I'm part-time over at the city as the director right now. So our daddy-daughter dance is coming up, and I thank you for approving us using the high school for that annual dance. I'm looking forward to working with the schools with different programs in the future. So I just wanted to make sure I introduce myself and know who the Board of Education is, and let you know I am a graduate of Romulus, proud graduate, class of '85. I walked these same halls. I played sports. Because of Romulus, I was able to go to the next level, and I have so much confidence and love for this community. So I'm giving back in a different way. Yes, I am an educator. I don't work for our school district, and it's okay. I did coach here. I just love the city. I love this community. I want us to connect, and I just wanted everyone to know that I'm here for the community in regards to Parks and Recreation at whatever capacity the board of the city will, Romulus Community Schools would want me to participate in. Thank you for this time.
Quick question, when is the daddy-daughter dance?
The daddy-daughter dance is October 26th. That's a Wednesday, 6 p.m. to 8:30. Our theme is Halloween, so the girls can dress up in their little dainty dresses or their costume, whatever they choose. So we're going to continue the tradition that Tanya Cofield, she worked so diligently to keep these programs going. So thank you so much.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you.
Kylene Zoltowski.
Debbie, the date's not on this one. Thank you.
Good evening.
The one that's laying down.
For those of you that don't know me, I'm Kylene Zoltowski, teacher at Romulus High School. I've been here for the last 19 years, and I'm REA representative, and most of all, an advocate for my kids. I've been to many meetings, and I've even spoken at several, but I took a step back because it seemed that our words as our stakeholders were unimportant to the task that the board was trying to complete. It was both frustrating and very stressful and traumatic. However, I can't continue to stand back and watch the school that I love and have worked my entire career for run into the ground. We have worked further. In recent years, we have moved employees, specifically admin, around this district as if they are interchangeable. Many of these people are expected to fill in for other jobs as well as do their own job that they were hired for. This is not possible, and therefore something's suffering. Doesn't matter what the price tag is. Paying someone additional doesn't ensure the job gets done right. We need to take a long look at what positions are necessary and which ones we need to fill immediately and make that the essence. Every building needs a principal, and secondary buildings need more than one. There's too many kids. Another thing that I see happening is admin overseeing a certain area and then to hire a coordinator to oversee the day-to-day. This is, in my opinion, is a waste of money. So you have someone that's just managing other people that are doing the actual work. Not to mention, because someone has an admin degree, that it is misunderstood that they can oversee any department. This is 100% furthest from the truth. And we need to find admin that is willing to work with the staff and the students. We have many of these new members, admin over at the board office, and they don't seem to be willing to work with us. So we need to work on that. What I find most funny about this is that we are doing this with people making six figures, like money isn't an issue. But when the high school lost an attendance person, we couldn't fill that position. And if we want to talk about dollars to dollars, that person does a lot of work that I don't think everybody understands. So that attendance position had to be filled by 3 additional secretaries taking on a little bit at a time. It's too much. They're having to take in kids that are signing in and out for the day. They're taking phone calls, doing actual attendance, having to make sure things are correct. It's way too much for one person, let alone to have 3 people in 3 different offices that are not even together to try to make that work. So we really need to think about how we're spending our money. At the last meeting, there were a lot of questions regarding enrollment, and I hope that we take a better look at that, because it's my understanding that some of our virtual teachers, especially in the elementary level, have a very small number of kids. I think we need to consider and look at those numbers, and if that's the case, maybe disband some of those virtual options and put those teachers in teaching positions that we have open. One last thing, if I can have a 30-second extension. At a meeting about a year ago, it was said that we needed to be fiscally responsible as we would with our own money. I could not agree more. We need to decide which things are needed and which things are wants, and we also need to make sure that every dollar spent positively impacts our students. Thank you.
Thank you.
Autumn Searcy.
Good evening. Good evening. We were here a couple weeks ago. We came in and spoke to you about the coaches, and so I just wanted to make sure I followed up to tell you guys thank you for taking that posting down. There's been a sigh of relief since that came down. So since we came in and let you guys know how we felt, I felt like it was up to us to also come back in and thank you for taking that posting down. Also, I've heard that there's been a counselor hired at the high school, so I thank you for that because that was a big stress. I told you guys I have 2 seniors this year, so it's important for them to have a counselor. I'm going to give her a little bit of time before I know she just started, but I have some things to talk to her about. But there is also one more thing I wanted to talk to you about from that meeting that 2 weeks ago or so. That was something that were brought up that it's been on my mind. One of the students talked about some black mold in one of the locker rooms, and that was the first time I heard about something like that, and I haven't heard it brought up since then. So I just wanted to make sure that that will be addressed because I have children and I know they're in those locker rooms. So I don't know if it's black mold or not, but I would like for it to be addressed and that we find out if there is black mold in there. Thank you.
Thank you. Is that it? I want to thank everyone for their comments. Our next item is an action item for resolution and amendment. Is anyone would like to read that?
Move that the Board of Education approve the following regarding legal service of Grammarico, Mullins, and Horton, P.C. Number 1, resolution regarding amended contract for legal services, and number 2, amend contract for legal services for litigation brought by Auxilio, Inc. at rates of $275 per hour for GMH attorneys and $95 per hour for paralegal services. The rationale, given recent changes at RCS, Grammatical, Mullins, and Horton, attorney and counselors at law, Attorney John Clark has requested the presented amended contract for legal services be placed on a board agenda for consideration and approval by the board. The fees/costs are for pending legal proceedings. GMH is in the lead on the Auxilio suit. Also presented for approval is a resolution regarding amended contract for legal services. The contract is terminable by RCS with 30 days written notice or by 30 days written notice from the law firm as specified in the contract termination. Budget implications are general fund. Support.
Any discussion?
Madam Chair, I have a question.
Mhm.
Mr. Bergeron, I'll yield to Mr. Bergeron.
It's on.
Is it?
It's green.
Okay. I was looking down. this is the lawsuit that, I just looked at the bills and there's like a bill in there for Gianmarco, you know, for like 36,000. Last month it was 23,000. I'm not understanding this, and I still haven't seen a breakdown of how much per hour they're spending on this deal. They're just showing us this bottom line, and I'm not buying it. I mentioned, I don't know how many times, I'm not gonna tolerate being on this board without being responsible to the people, the taxpayers of this community and myself, of just giving blank checks out to these lawyers and you know, there's no response from them. And the accountants that we have. You know, I highly recommend that we go back and get our own accountant, get our own staff, and start doing the books by ourselves instead of using these part-time people. They don't care about Romulus. So anyway, I'm not voting, and I'm not voting for anything legal until I get an understanding of, you know, why they're doing what they're doing. It's that simple.
Understood, Madam
Chair. So, I reached out earlier. I know that we had, as a board, approved Gianmarco, Mullins, and Horton to assist in the Auxilio litigation. And it's my understanding that it's come back before us tonight because some of the people involved that brought that to us are no longer with the district, and other parties have since been named. So this is us making sure that we are following proper processes. To share with the board, and President Wester is aware, I did reach out to President Wester and Ms. Fryer today and inquired, because this is a lawsuit, if we are able to file an insurance claim, and if so, then our deductible of $17,500 would be the limit that the district would pay as far as legal fees. I don't know, Madam President, if you received an update on that or if we are still waiting on that. But if it please the board, if we could maybe amend this so that we have a limit of until we hear back from the insurance company, so that if it is an option to file a claim to save on legal fees, we're able to do that.
Well, one, we do have Attorney Clark here that can answer some questions, as well as Ms. Freyer is here to be able to answer the other questions. So, Attorney Clark, if you can come forward, please, be greatly appreciated.
Good evening, everybody. My name is John Clark, senior partner with Gianmarco, Mullins, and Horton. I appreciate you having me tonight. I'm here to answer any questions that you may have.
Pete, Mr. Bergeron, I'm sorry.
First of all, I go back with Gianmarco when they were the city of Romulus's attorney. Steve Hitchcock is still over there.
Still there,
I
yep.
know him very, very well. I've trying to get information from him to figure out, you know, what the step is on these rates, because these rates, and then there's another gentleman in there. There's like 5 legal firms in there. What's our liability? What's the top liability for us if we lose?
Okay, I don't, that's really litigation strategy, and that probably wouldn't be something proper in a public forum. We do send in monthly detailed invoices. We are fighting 3 separate lawsuits, you know, so there's a lot of activity right now. And I appreciate your concern.
And I haven't seen it, and I don't know why, but I haven't seen the breakdown. I want to see the breakdown. I want to see the breakdown of everything that we're paying, and not just you.
Sure.
You know, we have, 4 or 5 different law firms here, and I'm thinking, you know, is this really reasonable?
Sure.
You know, nothing against you,
I
but the
understand.
bottom line is that, you know, show me, you know.
Trustee Bergeron, just to reply to that, the invoices are available at central office to be viewed. They're just not a part of the board packet. So if you wanted to get with Ms. Freyer, she would be able to show you all the detailed invoices for each.
She's here.
And she's here, yeah.
But- Well, I didn't know that, but, you know, the bottom line is I will go over there and look at that
Okay.
because, you know, you know, when I see it like this, I have a feeling of impropriety there that, you know, just showing it's like a blank check and I don't do blank checks,
I understand, sir. I
you know,
understand.
so.
And then as far as the insurance claim, yes, I believe a claim was made recently, today. So we're waiting to hear back from the carrier, and once there's an adjuster assigned, that I presume I'll be working with that adjuster to provide whatever additional information will be required.
If I may ask one more question, Madam Chair? Mr. Clark, my last question on this is, so if the district is retaining your firm to represent us, do you have the staffing and the manpower to solely represent us, or are we still needing to also pay district counsel to assist in that?
We've been taking the lead on the litigation really since the inception.
Okay,
So the corporation counsel has been providing some assistance along the way, but it really has not been a whole lot of activity on his end.
okay.
Are there any other questions for
Thank you.
Attorney Clark?
What's the other Delaport or whatever?
Delaport.
Delaport, yeah, is he working with you
That
or
was
with
the
Gianmarco on this case?
That was a question he just answered.
He's
that
actually a named party in this
Okay.
case.
He's a named party, but there were certain things that Mr. Clark was unable to get that district council did assist on getting. But it's not an ongoing.
It's not ongoing.
And we gotta cover him?
We covered him for whatever services he rendered.
Does he talk about his money?
I'm gonna look at that this week, you know, because that has appearance of impropriety, our lawyer getting sued, and then we gotta pay for him? Do we have to pay his insurance too?
Mr. Bergeron. Any other questions?
No.
Ms. Freer, did you want to add anything in terms of? Thank you. If there's no further discussion, can we go into a vote, please?
Evans?
Yes.
Piles, yes. Terrell?
Yes.
Bergeron?
Yes.
Wester?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Our next item on the list is for request of closed session. Someone like to read the motion?
Move that the Board of Education go into closed session under the following sections of the OMA. Number 1, Section 8E, pending litigation to consult with our attorneys, Eric Delaport / Delaport Law, PLLC, and Mike Weaver / Plunkett Cooney attorneys regarding trial or settlement strategy in connection with pending litigation specifically to the matter of Floyd versus RCS. Number 2, Section 8E, pending litigation to consult with our attorney, Robert Schindler / Miller Johnson attorneys regarding trial or settlement strategy in connection with pending litigation specifically to the matter of Edmondson versus RCS, which is currently pending before an arbitrator. And number 3, Section 8C, collective bargaining strategy / AFSCME, Local 64. Rationale in accordance with Michigan's OMA, enacted in 1976 as Public Act 267, all closed meetings must be called by a motion at a public meeting of the Board of Education, followed by a roll call vote. The Board of Education will convene in closed session under Section 8E of the OMA, pending litigation, and Section 8C, collective bargaining strategy. The pending litigation / attorney-client closed session scheduled with attorneys Eric Delaport and Mike Weaver was scheduled for our September 26th meeting. However, we did not go into closed session at this meeting. Budget implications TBD, if any.
Is there support?
Support.
Is that true?
Terrell?
Evans,
Are we going to have comment?
Is there comment or
I'm sorry.
discussion?
Yes, I would like to know, there was a request to add closed session for the topic of embezzlement. Why is that not part of this motion? It was requested by a board member.
I've not heard back from Mr. Delaporte regarding that, so that's why it's not on here.
Okay.
Any other questions or discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Evans,
No.
Terrell,
Yes.
Piles, yes. Bergeron,
Yes?
Wester.
Yes.
Motion fails to go into closed session. Madam Chair, if I may ask a question?
Madam Secretary?
So, according to our agenda, we had 2 items with pending litigation. Since we are not going into closed session this evening to get those updates, would it be permissible that you receive those updates from the attorneys involved and contact board members and bring us up to date on where we stand on those?
Yes. Also, there is one of these closed sessions that could actually be done without legal, because that's something that Dan Scott was handling, because that refers to the union. If we can put that on to get that taken care of for the custodial
And we will not be
staff.
violating the OMA with that.
No.
Then why is it stated that it's Section 8C of the OMA? I just want to make sure we're
Right,
not
what I-
violating OMA.
Right, what I was told and informed was that we could have that, but if not, we can carry on.
As long as we are not in violation of the OMA.
So can we do these motions one by one? Or, so I move that the Board of Education enter into closed session under Section 8C of the Open Meetings Act for collective bargaining strategy regarding Local 64.
Support.
Piles, yes. Wester?
Yes.
Evans?
Before I vote, we're going into closed session about Local 64.
Yes.
And only Local 64.
That's what the motion is.
Yes.
Bergeron?
Yeah.
Terrell?
Yes.
6:41. The meeting will remain open for those that are live streaming. We will be back in just a few minutes. Thank you. start the meeting. Motion to reconvene. Support. Roll call vote.
Evitt?
Yes.
Hiles, yes. Bergeron?
Yes.
Terrell? Yes. Wester?
Yes, 7:25. Our next item on our agenda is a presentation by our interim superintendent, Yolanda Bloodsaw. Dr. Yolanda Bloodsaw.
Good evening, Board
Good evening.
Good evening.
and School District. Thank you all for being here today. One of the things I wanted to talk to you all about is the curriculum complexities and the instructional learning system and a sense of urgency. In your board packet, I shared this document with you, this presentation with you. And if you can go ahead and move to the next slide, Roxanne, thank you. There are several components of curriculum. Curriculum is not just looking at instructional resources. And so I wanted you all to be aware that when you talk about curriculum, you're talking about so many different components that all work together in order to make this work. And so when you're looking at curriculum, you're looking at the instructional materials, you're looking at the instructional learning system, you're looking at professional development, you're looking at report cards, grading. There are so many different components that you're looking at. And what I have listed here, that's not everything, but I just wanted to show you that there are so many parts to curriculum and the need that we have for curriculum as well. One of the things that I shared as the curriculum director, you can move to the next slide, please, is that there are some essential elements or goals that impact instruction. One is the culture and climate. The culture and climate, making sure that our school environment is conducive to learning. So in order to be conducive to learning, we have to have daily building routines, practices, and things of that nature. But we also have to have a student code of conduct that guides to guide our practices and what are the expectations for our students, and also the expectations for our staff. And our staff, they have been doing an amazing job considering the climate that we've been in this year. And what I mean by that, we have had a revolving door of people coming in and coming and going. And everyone, as far as I can see, have just been stepping up to the plate just to make things work. Another part of that essential component to instruction is the instructional practices or professional development. And professional development of the new curricular resources that we have and resources that we have yet to get. I just met earlier today with K-5 grade level leads to talk about our PLC early release that's coming up on Wednesday and what those expectations are and what it will look like for Wednesday. That's only a small portion of the professional development that we are doing for the entire year. But not only do we need it for K-5, we need it 6 through 8 as well, and also our early childhood. So a lot of work goes into that. Another part of the instructional practice is when you look at a new resource, curricular resource, companies, they want to sell your product. So if you do their product, we're going to be all day. So we have to have a focus, and our focus are our priority standards. And so that's one of the things that we have to actually look at with our current resources to align our current resources with the power standards so that we are giving our students the bang for our buck. Last but not least, if we have our culture and climate in place and our instructional practices in place, it's obviously going to impact assessment and our achievement, okay? But we have to get that in place. And right now, like I said, we've been having a revolving door with staff, people coming and going and things of that nature. Can you move to the next slide, please? What I have here is a phase-in plans for curriculum and assessment. This is basically a 5-year plan. And what this plan does, it looks at what are we doing right now for the 2022-23 school year. And in that first column under 2022-23, we're looking currently at math and ELA. Well, math and ELA, right now we're trying to do this professional development for the math and ELA. So you can't do everything all in one year. It takes time. It takes time for students to learn it. It takes time for staff to learn the curriculum to teach. It also takes time to roll out the assessments for everyone to get comfortable. And then when you also have a revolving door of staff, every time you get someone new, you have to teach those new people, okay? And so this is an ongoing process that cannot happen overnight. When you look at the 2023-24, the focus I would like to be is science and social studies. This right now is a draft. Science and social studies for the 2023-24 school year, but we are having conversations now about it. We're not waiting, but to know that in order to, our focus for next year will be science and social studies. In addition to math and ELA, we're going to continue with that. So if you look at this phase, and we also have the elective classes, our language, our technology classes, PE, so on and so forth, band. We have these elective classes that we have to focus on as well and make sure they are getting the things that they need. We're not saying that we are waiting until then to do anything for those departments. If they need something now, we have to, of course, act on them. But in terms of making sure this curriculum is viable and truly conducive to learning that impacts our students, we have to take a deep dive into everything, not just ELA and math, science, and social studies. We have to deep dive into everything that we offer. Can you move to the next slide, please? So I just wanted to share our instructional plan of what we are doing right now. So this slide that you see right here is a slide that shows our core instruction for K-5. I have something very similar for the middle school and for the high school. So currently for K-5, for ELA, we are using what is called the collaborative classroom. And under the collaborative classroom, we're using being a reader, being a writer, making meaning, and book clubs. And then we're also using the Pioneer Valley level literacy assessments. So what this document is and what I would like to do is for every content area is have our key resource so that we can place this on the website for parents to look at when parents ask, what is it that you're using? Right now, well, when I first started in 2019, there were so many different resources that were being used. Some of the teachers were kind of, trying to work together, but by the same token, people were not formally trained or did not receive formal professional development. That is what we're doing right now under the collaborative classroom. We're also doing the same thing with the math at the elementary level and then also the middle school and high school. But I wanted you all to look at this, and you see all the openings that are on this graph right now, on this chart. That means we have a lot of work to do. This is not an overnight process. It takes lots of meetings. It takes lots of planning in order to fill these areas. Also, in addition to your core instruction, if our core instruction is in place, then which is our tier 1 instruction, that's our main instruction. If that is in place, typically your tier 2 instruction does not require as much if we're doing a lot of differentiation with that instruction at the tier 1 level. If we're doing that, then also that means our tier 3, we are providing support with the tier 3 instruction, which are our students that need a little bit more help. We're providing that, but we also have to have the resources to provide that with the students. We also need to look at what we're doing with our students for before school care, before school and after school. So before school tutoring or enrichment, or after-school tutoring and enrichment. There are so many resources that we can use, but we don't have it all planned out just yet. Now, are all the buildings doing something? Yes, we're doing something, but is everything aligned and all of us doing the exact same thing? No, we're not there yet, and this is where I would like to go. Also, even with our summer school program, having resources together so that when we go into our summer school, what are we using for our summer school to make sure we have a bang for our buck? If you go to the next slide, please. Would like to do the exact same thing for middle school. If you see all the empty spaces, we are not there yet. So there, again, there's a lot of work that needs to be done for both the middle school and the high school. What I hear people say a lot of time for secondary, you were like the stepchild. We don't get the attention, and I don't want that to be the case because the middle school and the high school, they're so essential. They're our draw. What is the carrot that we dangle at the middle school and the high school to get people to even want to come to Romulus? And I feel that the middle school and high school, we have to make sure we are offering an A1 curriculum for them as well. And so we have, we have a lot of work to do. Go ahead to the next slide. So the high school and middle school slides, again, we have a lot of work. So if you continue going on, next slide. Why a sense of urgency? I would like to be proactive rather than reactive. Right now, we're being reactive. We're reactive because, you know, we had a great deal of learning loss during COVID. And so we're still feeling the impact of that learning loss. So much so, you know, with the high school, graduation requirements and things of that nature. I want to talk to you all a little bit later about that. But we have experienced that, and our kids are feeling that impact as a result of the COVID. So we want to be proactive rather than reactive. In addition to that, we have school improvement that we have to do, and that is required by MDE. So because we have this school improvement, the MyKIB, one of the things I would like to do, I would like to start looking at what is called the Cognia standards, or advanced accreditation standards. So I learned a couple of weeks ago when I was in Traverse City that Romulus was in the advanced accreditation process, and that we're no longer doing it at this moment, but we're going to get back on target. So we got off the wagon during COVID, but we're about to get back on that wagon. The advanced accreditation has these standards and guidelines, and if we're going by those guidelines, which is a highly effective plan for teaching our students, then we're gonna, you know, in the event that we're jeopardized of being on the low performing list, in the event we're on, you know, in that area because of COVID, this will get us off of that list. So we have to have a plan in place, again, trying to be proactive rather than reactive. So we start with the process now, start with the baby steps as we move forward. So continuity is essential. And so when I say continuity, I mean we have to have people in place. So not only do we have to retain our leadership, but we also have to retain our instructional staff. We've had so many instructional staff leave, well, all types of staff, let me just say that, all types of staff who have left the district. And a primary reason is due to the competitive wages or the lack thereof. And so one of the things I would like to do is really take into consideration not just competitive wages for instructional staff, but all staff, support staff, everyone that is a part of this district, so that the people that we have, especially the people with the history of the district that's been here, that we are able to maintain the staff and they're not walking out the door going to a neighboring district. We have to retain the staff that are currently here, and we do have to show that we truly do appreciate our staff. Moving forward, next slide, please. You know, again, being proactive rather than reactive. I've moved into 3 roles since I've been here over the last, 4 months. So Hell Creek principal, then interim director of curriculum, then director of curriculum, and now interim superintendent. And so right now we have people that are in the district that are supporting us. So Dr. Krantz has been very instrumental with helping in the K-5 curriculum with the curricular resources. And she started off by doing listening sessions with everyone. She did listening sessions with the board, with building leaders, with teachers, with students, with parents, and even with our online parents and our online parents. And one of the things we learned that from just listening to our parents and listening to our students and listening to our staff, that we all want what's best for our kids. Our kids are the focus. So we have to get back to why we all are here, and our why is the students. And so Dr. Krantz is helping with that, with those curricular reviews for ELA and math, and also currently the professional development. Dr. Gardner, she is right now the director of community outreach, and I've asked her if she would help support, with the 6 through 12 curricular resource with curriculum. Because there are some meetings that I cannot attend because I'm now in this role. So curriculum directors meetings are on the same day as the interim superintendent, the superintendent's meetings. And so we have kind of like a clash. Principals meetings, we still have to maintain our principals meeting, looking at data, looking at school improvement, looking at walkthroughs, looking at our standards. And so, and also, our credit recovery program. So working with Mr. Petty on that. If you continue moving on. So far, we've done some work. We've earlier this year, well, in August, we had a new orientation, a new staff orientation for our new staff. But we've also since then have had even more staff that we've hired. But we've provided, you can't really see it, but I sent this out to the district during this time, specifically explaining what was the professional development that we were doing with the new staff, using the MyStar system, which is our grading system for attendance and all of that, making sure they are onboarded, something that I did not get when I came here in 2019. So I did not want anyone else coming into the district without having an opportunity of being properly onboarded. When people start now, we still have to make sure we are meeting the needs of our new staff. Also, if you move to the next slide, we attempted to do our welcome back kickoff, and we ended up having a power outage here at the high school, and so we were not able to do our initial kickoff like we had initially planned. However, our day 2, we had to do a plan B. The plan B was because Hell Creek and Barth both had power on those days, we had to divide and conquer. So K-5 went to Barth and 6 through 12 went to Hell Creek, and by Dr. Krantz being a consultant and helping out and working with K-5, she was able to go and help facilitate that, which I sincerely appreciated. But we want to continue to have professional development for not just our instructional staff, but all of our staff. What I've learned from being in other districts, a lot of times I don't want to say necessarily forget about our support staff and the people that are in the trenches with the teachers. And so what I mean by that, our paraprofessionals, they need to be aware of the curriculum that we're teaching the students as well. The building subs, they need to be aware of that instruction as well. Our resource teachers, they need to be aware as well, so that we are making sure we are supporting all our students. We can't just isolate this professional development just for the instructional staff only, especially when you have support staff that need to know what we're doing in order to support the students. And so even though we had some hiccups this summer because of our power, we were still able to get our staff in for professional development. I sincerely appreciate them for that. Can you go to the next slide, please? So during our listening circle and feedback, one of the things or the concerns that I received from several parents as I was in the curriculum role early on, I had parents complain, I had students complain, staff complaints, and we talked, and some of those concerns was really with the concerns about the middle school. And so one of the things I did with the middle school, and I had an opportunity to talk to REA before we even introduced this to see if this was even something that we could do. So I wanted everything to be transparent by talking to REA first. And one of the things that we did, we looked at, I ended up talking to REA and talked to the elective teachers at the middle school to talk about this middle school schedule for the middle school elective teachers to teach 6 classes. They're currently teaching 2 6th grade sections, 2 8th grade sessions according to the schedule. The lighter orange at the bottom is the elective, and then 2 7th grade sections. The reason for that is so that all students are not moving at the same time. If you look up where the green is, that the green represents the 6th grade. When the 6th grade is in class, especially first hour and second hour, 7th and 8th grade are in the classrooms, they're not moving. So you only have a grade of students moving at one time. When 7th grade is moving, 6th grade is in class. When 8th grade is moving, 7th and 6th grade are in class. And so it cuts down on the traffic within the school. Another thing that's happening with the schedule, from talking to Ms. Marshall, is that when the students enter the building, they do not go to the cafeteria. They go straight to their classroom, and that's where breakfast is being provided. And so even if a student comes in a little late, breakfast is still there. They're not missing breakfast with this schedule. And so there's a lot of movement throughout the day in this schedule. There are no longer any bells. I did have a parent who came to talk to me and said that we were a little too strict because a kid could not see a 6th grade or another grade level, and we were a little too strict. Well, I'd rather be a little too strict than to have the concerns that we had last year. So there's still some growth that we have to do and some tweaking that we have to do as we go through this process. But do know this came from those listening sessions, wanting you to, I want people to understand that I am really trying to hear you and to make a difference, especially as it impacts our students. Can you go to the next slide, please? And so right now we have some immediate critical needs that are impacting. Hell Creek needs a principal. The high school needs 2 assistant principals and counselors, and then also we need additional instructional staff, at all of our schools where we are missing staff. It's across the country. There's a shortage of educators. People are not going into education like when I first started 30 plus years ago. People are just not doing it. And so there's a shortage. Not only that, I think my personal opinion after COVID hit and it made people just rethink and reevaluate their lives. And so people have made major changes. And so right now we're all feeling this impact, but we do have critical areas that we need to immediately fill, and we are working on these areas. So do know that. Last slide, please. So please support our curriculum needs. There's a lot of work to be done, and board is up to you. I'm just asking for your support in whatever we need for curriculum. Are there any questions?
Thank you, Dr. Bloodsaw. Board members, any questions or anything for Dr. Bloodsaw regarding the presentation?
I just have one. I was looking at the date range. So we're working in the K-5 right now. Have we started in the 6-7, or the middle school curriculum?
So indirectly, and what I mean by that, we've ordered supplies for both math, for math, for middle school and high school, but in terms of have I truly started working with them? No, I've been pulled in so many different directions. I have, been the Hell Creek principal, been over a curriculum, now, in the superintendent role. So no, I have not specifically met with that staff just yet.
So is the plan basically then to start a new building so you're doing the K-5 now, the next year it would be the middle school, and then the next year the high school?
The reality is that I would like to start all of them now, to start with math and ELA now, which is why Dr. Krantz and Dr. Gardner are so important if we can, bring them on for that support. I don't next year will be too late. We have to, we are, when I say a sense of urgency, we are really under sense of urgency.
Okay, I like to hear that,
Okay.
that we're working diligently to start everyone.
Yes,
Okay, very good, thank you.
you're welcome.
Any other questions? Thank you, Dr. Bloodsaw.
Thank you.
For that presentation. The consent agenda, excuse me, tongue-tied. Consent agenda. Matters listed under the consent agenda are considered routine in nature by the Board of Education and will be acted upon by one motion. There will be no separate discussion on these items. If any member of the board or any citizen requests discussion of an item, that item will be removed from the consent agenda and will become the first item of business under the report of the superintendent portion of the agenda. A is approval of the minutes of the Board of Education, July 25th closed session, September 12th regular meeting, amended 9/12, September 26th, 22 regular meeting, and September 28th special meeting. B, approval of bills for payment as submitted by accountant Sarah Kahn in the amount of $1,331,708.98. C, approval of the personnel action submitted by Human Resource Director Dan Scott, employment of Caitlin Becker, teacher at Hell Creek, effective 10/5/22, and Denise Crank, secretary of Hell Creek, effective 10/5/22, and resignations of Robert Barrett, teacher at RVLC, effective 10/10, and Scott Ferrier, teacher at WIC, effective 8/30. Move that the Board of Education approve the consent agenda as presented.
Madam President,
Ma'am?
I would like to approve with the amendment of removal of the September 28th minutes.
Removal of the September 28th.
Yes.
Is there support?
And Madam President, I would also like to remove the closed session minutes for discussion and approval under the superintendent's report.
So we're removing September 28th and July 25th.
And I will support Abbott's motion.
And I'd support Debbie's motion. Pyle's motion.
So the motion is to accept the consent agenda as amended, removing the minutes from 9/28 and also the closed meeting minutes from July 25th. Is that the date?
Yes.
Correct.
Okay.
So that motion was by Evans and supported by Piles?
Yes.
Yes.
Roll call vote?
Evetts?
Yes.
Piles, yes. Terrell?
Yes.
Bergeron?
Yes.
Wester?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Report of the superintendent. So the first thing is our September 28th minutes, special meeting minutes.
I had sent a text message to Secretary Piles the afternoon of September 28th, informing her that I wouldn't be here, and it doesn't show that I was excused. So it looks like I just didn't, I was a no-show.
We can make that amendment. It was not communicated with me, so that
Thank you very
amendment
much.
can be made.
Thank you.
So the amendment is to have trustee Evans down as excused for roll call.
So motion to approve the minutes from the special meeting on September 28th with the correction of Ms. Evetts being excused.
Support.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimously.
The next item was the minutes, closed minutes from July 25th.
Okay, so, Madam President, and board members, as we look through the packet that was placed before us tonight for the confidential packet for the minutes. Item number 2 that is highlighted for the termination of a contract be removed. So just to go back, because we're a while out from this meeting, the motion that night was to approve those things that were brought to the Board of Education from legal counsel that night.
Correct.
So this particular resolution was not brought to us. We didn't discuss or talk about this particular motion, which is why I am asking that this be pulled from the closed meeting minutes for approval. The I believe that we are in agreement on one contract that was terminated, another lawsuit that was settled. The policy recommendation, we had talked about the board discussing that, but I am bringing that up for removal. And we not approve that simply because to change policy, the Board of Education can't just make a motion. It requires a first and second reading or a vote to waive that, and specific language be provided, of the policy change be provided to the board members. And then I believe we are in agreement with the PA 152 that needed to that we did approve that. So we would be approving the resolution for, the first in our packet is the resolution for representation in a lawsuit. The next was for termination of a contract. The third was a resolution for a settlement. And then the final was the PA 152. So the only minutes being removed for approval would be the policy recommendation and the resolution to terminate a second contract.
Correct.
So
Support.
So you're saying that we did, I remember conversation about this policy. And it was discussion that tell me when I need to stop, but that the attorneys had talked about looking back at this, and it said that we were going back to an old policy.
Right. And that can be stated. That's, the motion was that we go back to a 2020 version of the policy. But what is required for policy change by law is that there is a first and second reading.
I thought we waived first readings, but.
Our motion was simply to approve the things that were brought before the board in closed session. So, and those specific language changes weren't provided to board members. So that's the reason for that being removed. And then the second, there just wasn't discussion.
Any other discussion? Ms. Bergeron? Mr. Reyes?
Okay.
Roll call vote?
So I don't know if I stated this motion, so just for the record, move that the Board of Education approve the closed meeting minutes from July 25th, 22, with the exception of the two aforementioned resolutions being pulled out. It's supported by Wester. Piles, I'm sorry,
Roll call
Is it
vote?
supported?
yes.
Please support it.
Piles, yes. Wester?
Yes.
Bergeron?
Yes.
Terrell?
Yes.
Evans?
Yes.
Motion carries. And these need to be turned back. Thank you, President Lester.
Dr. Bloodsaw, we are at your portion now for FYI and for item A. Any miscellaneous? A board of, no, you can do it here.
No, right here.
Did you have a FYI first, or were you just going into your action item?
The action item.
Okay.
If it was a FYI, I forgot what my FYI.
Did you have any information that you wanted to
Did-
share,
did you wanna
basically?
share the information
Anything,
with
any
it?
notations that you've made throughout the weeks
Yeah.
that you've been here?
Since I got here, any, oh, wow. yes,
Anything you
I'm-
really want to share?
Well, you know what, I just have to say, thank you to the staff. Everyone has just been so supportive. I just really appreciate people just stepping up and, reaching out. People have been sent emails or sent texts or just called just to, say if there's any support that you need. And I really do appreciate people stepping up and helping out. And so, I will say that. Oh my goodness, I can't think of one off the top of my head. So, and I'm new to this, so work with me here.
Absolutely.
So I appreciate that. So, I would like to just go ahead on to the action item for the graduation credit requirements. Do I need to go over that, or you'll?
We'll read the
You do.
motion.
Okay.
We'll do the motion first.
Move that the Board of Education approve a class requirement reduction to MMC for at-risk students, lowering graduation credit requirements from 22 to 18. Rationale, the presented documents detail short and long-term recommendations as well as specific courses needed for credit recovery. Both documents have been provided to Dr. Davida Colbert / Superintendent at Wayne Risa. This matter is of urgency, decreasing the number of at-risk seniors. Budget implications are none. Confidential transcript audit findings and credit recovery recommendations.
Is there support?
Support.
Motion by Evans, supported by Terrell. Any discussion?
Yes, I have a question. And I know this goes back a long way, but when, hope my daughter's not listening, but when she graduated, there were certain requirements that were stickers that had to be on her diploma, specifically for English and another one, and I can't think of what it is. But there were certain requirements for graduation, certain classes. How is this going to affect our seniors that are athletes getting into colleges? What is the bare minimum that they can graduate with, that their diploma is really an accredited diploma? That's where I have a concern with, or a question with this.
Well, in terms of the athletes, let me double check to get back with you. I don't want to say the wrong thing. However, the Michigan Merit Credit is 18. The students have to graduate can graduate with 18. Romulus has set the requirement as 22. What this will allow us to do, because of, COVID put us in a bad situation where, students missed taking elective classes or what have you. Their focus were the core classes, those courses that are required for graduation. And so many of them are just missing those elective classes. So if they don't take those elective classes, they can still graduate and graduate on time. And so, this can be, short term for us so that we can get out of this setting for this moment, for the time being. But right now, we do not want the state of the economy to impact our students and have our students lose out because of something that none of us had any control of.
So is this just for the graduation class of 23? Or
Well-
is this for, because we know that our numbers for basically 1/3 of our high school is on target for that.
So for all of our students that this has impacted, we have the audit findings, the breakdown of the numbers so far of the students that are not on track to graduate. And so we want to make sure that, with the credit recovery classes and things of that nature, we get them on track, on track. I'm sorry. That's not
What a
recorded.
slip.
Oh, my goodness. We don't want them on that.
We're gonna get them on track.
with a T.
track, forgive me. And so we just want to make sure our students are on track to graduate.
Okay,
so-
and then, so these additional classes that they can take, will this be after school? How will we be handling this? And will this be virtual? Will this be face-to-face? Will it be like an after-school program?
So,
And I'm sorry if you sent that and I didn't read it. I'll raise my hand that I didn't read that part of the,
well, once we look at all the students, go back and if this is approved, once we look at all the students, then we will have to come back to the table to determine what that next step is, because, with the number of students, so we have to come back and look at that.
because I know that you had targeted 100 students for summer school.
Mhm.
What was the amount that really attended?
I don't have that off the top
Just
of my
the-
head. I
okay.
don't remember.
You don't remember that
I
number?
don't remember. I'm
just-
sorry.
They're all running
But-
together.
But did that lead up to this? I mean, in reality, without the attendance of summer school, did that help with that?
Oh, absolutely.
Number of
It
students that
did
need
help
that.
with the number of students. There were several students that completed several of their courses over the summer school period. I just don't remember what that number is.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Can you come to the mic?
That'll teach. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
You gotta turn that one on.
That's weird. So this is a free pass to athletics?
The motion shouldn't read a reduction in the MMC because the state sets the MMC at 18. So you're not reducing the 18, you're reducing the number of credits that Romulus has set.
Right, it says
Right, that's
from
what it said.
22
It says
to
from
18.
22 to 18.
But read the first part of that sentence.
Move that the Board of Education approve a class requirement reduction to MMC.
You're not
It's not
reducing
the-
MMC, that's my point.
Yeah.
So you
understand
can't
what he's
say it
saying
that
now.
way.
Okay, so what should it say? Here, you can. I don't mean to put you on the spot, but
So we're
I do.
reducing it to MMC. I get it, but it could sound like we're reducing MMC.
From 18 to 22 credits for at-risk students.
Yes, we could do.
From, so take it
Just take out.
Yep. to the MMC.
To the,
Okay.
yes.
In
Okay.
compliance with MMC, right?
Okay, so I'm going to reread,
Thank
do the amendment to the budget, to the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Scott.
Thank you, Mr. Scott. Do I have to do anything else? I can just
Yes.
amend it?
Just read it. yeah.
Okay. Move that the Board of Education approve a class requirement reduction for at-risk students, lowering graduation credit requirements from 22 to 28.
To 18.
Sorry, 22 to 18.
May we add as required by
You don't
MMC,
need
so
to
we're
do-
not,
We're not getting an
You don't-
MMC at all.
We're not doing, you
Okay.
don't have to.
okay.
Lowering graduation credit requirements from 22 to 28.
To 18.
Oh, my God, so read. From lowering graduation credit requirements from 22 to 18.
I know, right?
Thank you. Any other discussion?
Do we have a new support?
I have a question.
Support.
I have a question. Dr. Bloodsaw,
Yes.
is this for all students already identified and those who will be identified? So we're opening this up to everyone?
Pardon me?
She wants to know, it's open to everyone.
Yes.
Open to everyone?
Yes.
Okay, all right. Just,
Is this going to be allowed for next year graduates? And, or how long is?
So that's what we have to, look at. If this is approved, once it's approved, we'll go back and look at the audit to see how many students this impact. And
Okay.
it may be. So
Okay.
we just have to double check once we,
So what
get
we're
those-
doing is we are really, we're helping all of our students.
Yes.
Correct.
Graduate
on time.
on time with the provided credits available.
Correct.
Correct. Mr. Bergeron? Trustee Terrell? Can we have a roll call vote, please?
I had one question, I'm sorry. As a follow-up, we do this, how will students and their families be aware that this change has taken place? I was gonna say our counselors talking to students, I know we have one, that's good, or will letters go out, or what is the plan so that our students know this?
I will talk with
Once it's
Mr.
approved.
Mr. Petty
Okay.
to come up with that. Thank you.
Roll call vote, please.
Evans,
Yes.
Wester,
Yes.
Terrell,
Yes.
Bergeron,
Yes.
Piles, yes, motion carries.
Thank you.
I changed you to support that.
Report of the Director of
Can
Human
I ask a
Resources.
question of the superintendent? I'm sorry, before we move on, or do I need to wait until my curriculum? Or do I ask it of HR? I want to know the student count for count day. Where should I ask that? Under the HR?
We'll go under HR.
Okay, thank you. I'm done.
Mr. Scott, it's your turn.
When
Report
it's
of
his
Human
turn right now.
Resource.
I'm sorry? Or you can have Pete just ask it whenever you want.
So our first action item is our MOU. Would someone like to read that motion?
Which one is it? MOU extracurricular duty.
Curriculum. Move that the Board of Education approve the extracurricular / instruction duties to Dr. Geraldine Gardner at a stipend of $125 per day in addition to her current contractual salary, with a start date effective October the 5th, 2022, and continuing into the Director of Curriculum / Instruction position is filled again. Rationale, our current Director of Curriculum / Instruction, Dr. Yolanda Bloodsaw, is currently in the role of interim superintendent. To cover the absence of our Curriculum and Instruction office, Dr. Gardner will assist with the duties during the time that Dr. Bloodsaw is serving as interim superintendent. Budget implications, general fund. There will be a review of grants for changes that may be needed in the future. Exhibits is the confidential MOU for Dr. Gardner.
Support.
Any discussion?
I have a couple questions, but sorry. So, my first question is, I know this is a MOU, Dr. Bledsoe, I know that we had briefly talked about, this daily stipend, for positions is a new thing. I'm not sure, where it originated, but typically, if somebody is doing the duties of a position, then their salary then becomes equal to that position's salary amount on a prorated basis. So, my question, and I didn't ask this part of you, and I apologize, have we calculated this daily rate, the sum of it, and compared it to what we would pay if we were just prorating and paying that salary?
To answer your question, no, I did not know that part. I did not know that's how you traditionally did things.
Okay, and then my other question, I know, board members, we have received a couple emails. Will you just state, there's questions about the qualifications or why this person was selected? Is there previous curriculum experience, or if not, just the reasons for?
No, her PhD is in curriculum, if I'm not mistaken.
So that would cover her at all levels of curriculum, the secondary
Yes.
and the elementary?
Yes.
But it's only for secondary, right? This is only for secondary?
Well, it's K-12, it would help support K-12, but right now, the focus in terms of where that initial support, the hope is that Dr. Krantz focus on the K-5 and Dr. Gardner focuses on the 6-12. but all under one umbrella.
So this would actually help implementing the math and the English immediately
Yes.
in the 6-12, where
Correct.
Dr. Krantz is focusing mainly on the K-5 then.
Yes.
So we would be implementing all English and math at all levels. And then, so I don't mean to overstep you.
No, that's fine.
So, I guess then my question would be, with this increase, where does that put her in a position of pay for a curriculum director? With her, and I don't remember her existing salary, but at the 125 a day, where does that put her as an annual?
Mr. Scott, can you answer that question?
If I had my smart, I would be able to, but I don't have it here in front of me, so unfortunately I can't.
Can we get a rounded figure?
I mean,
It's over, I think.
she was hired making more than you?
135.
Mm-mm.
No, 135.
Mhm.
135, the curriculum's 145.
Yeah.
So it's 10, but this might exceed that. That's why I brought up this.
Is this just until the end of the school year?
It would be just until
A super-
decisions are made
Right,
at
until our
different levels.
decisions are made as it relates to doing our superintendent search and all that.
Then who do we have in place to do her position?
She's still doing,
She's still doing her position. It's just she's supporting. So just like when I was in the interim curriculum position, I was still working over at Hell Creek. So I was still doing that position. So she will still do her position.
Under her current contractual salary, okay. I guess my main thing is, again, numbers. And, we can't, like Ms. Wester just said, President Wester just said, if we can get some type of an idea for a dollar figure, that would be great. Because is this also a day per contract days worked? Or is it calendar? Because we got into a situation before where people were being paid a stipend every day, whether they worked or not. And that has nothing to do with, this was a year ago, that we voted, oh yeah, we'll give somebody $100 a day, and whether they worked or they didn't work, whether they called in sick, whether it was a holiday or not, they got paid. So this would be something that's very, is it worked, is it days worked? Is it contractual days? You know what I'm saying? And what percentage of her time do we think she will be working on this? So is she going to be working 2 days a week on curriculum, or is she going to be working every day on curriculum?
I wish I would have had these questions beforehand. I can't
And I
answer all your
apologize.
questions
because-
at this moment because I did not know
Right.
they were coming.
If I can mention something,
Sure.
it doesn't make any difference what you do. It's always going to be something that you're doing.
Right.
So it's not like you can just set aside and do curriculum 2 days a week. There's always going to be questions.
Okay, and that's what I wondered, if she had a schedule to do curriculum.
There's-
Like Carrie has X amount of days a week to do curriculum, hours to do curriculum. So this is on an as-needed basis to do the curriculum along with her other job. Okay. Who
Madam-
supported that?
Western Piles. I have a question, because Ms. Evans brought up 6 through 12 ELA and math. Dr. Krantz is working on elementary ELA and math because we purchased those curriculums. But it was my understanding that nothing had been purchased yet for secondary, or has it?
We purchased mathematics I think it was in August, if I'm not mistaken, for 6 through 12.
Okay.
So
right,
the
thank you.
ELA, I have not worked with them yet, yes.
Okay.
roll call vote, please.
Piles? No. Bergeron?
Yes.
Evans?
Yes.
Terrell?
Yes.
Wester?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
It is very, if there's nothing that we focus on other than the education of students, that's why we are here. It's for those students. We need curriculum. We need it. We sat at this table and said,
Yep.
if we're going to get a new curriculum, we have to provide the training, and we cannot fail at that. So this is very, very important.
Thank you.
Action item B, would someone like to read the motion, please?
Move that the Board of Education approve the contract for Sarah Khan, Business Manager, effective July 1, 2022 through June 30th, 2023, for a contract amount as listed in the contract. Personnel action is the rationale, budget implications, general fund.
Support.
Thank you. Any discussion?
I do have one thing, President Wester. The job title of business manager, I just want to make sure I understand correctly as I asked Ms. Fryer, is that this is not a new position. It's just a title change. So this
Correct.
is a accountant, and because she's doing so many other duties other than accountant, this is just a position, a title change,
title
not
change
a new
only.
position.
And
Any
we
other
always
discuss-
ask what the dollar figure is associated to this contract, and it's at
80,000, I believe.
And I believe Ms. Freer did send us an email with the rationale as to why. Thank you, Ms. Freer.
I think it's, yeah, it's 80.
Is there any
Yes,
other
it's
discussion?
80,000, yes.
Do a roll call vote, please.
Evans?
Yes.
Piles, yes. Terrell?
Yes.
Bergeron?
Yes.
Wester?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Our next contract, Administrative Assistant to Human Resources.
Move that the Board of Education approve the contract for Rachel Higgins, Administrative Assistant for Human Resources, effective July 1, 2022 through June 30th, 2023, for a contract amount as listed in the contract. If somebody has that, I do not have it.
52,000.
5-2?
Yes.
In the amount of 52,000. And the budget implication is general fund.
Is there support?
Support.
Any discussion? Roll call vote?
Piles, yes. Evans?
Yes.
Terrell?
Yes.
Bergeron?
Yes.
Wester?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Contract for Executive Assistant to the Superintendent. Someone read that motion?
Move that the Board of Education approve the contract for Paula Gutzman, Executive Assistant to the Superintendent, effective July 1, 2022 through June 30th, 2023, for a contract amount as listed in the contract. The motion is for
65,000.
65,000. Rationale is personnel action, budget implications is general fund.
Is there support? Support? Any discussion?
You gonna, Debbie, take the stipend? Is
Roll
it in
call
it?
vote?
Wait.
Yeah, I'm looking for the contract right now, I'm sorry. I apologize. So, one question that was raised that we had on this was, if somebody has the, okay, here it is. The contract has a stipend of 2,500 listed. And first of all, thank you for everything you do, Paula. So the contract has a stipend. We had talked, I know the last time that we were approving contracts, that we would calculate salary and set salaries such that we didn't have to put in stipends for degrees. So that's a question that a couple board members that we saw that and were confused as to that being in there.
Mr. Scott, can you answer that question, please?
In talking to Ms. Gutzman, the contract that she currently has does have the stipend for the degree that she has, and so that was just carried forward into this contract.
So I guess the question was we had talked last year about eliminating that and just setting a salary, and because this salary has approximately a 20% increase, we had thought that we were doing away with stipends. I know in the contract we just approved did not have a degree stipend, and that's consistent with what conversations had been. So that, whatever our method is, just to know it and apply it consistently.
Thank you.
Roll call vote?
I'm sorry?
Can I have my sheet back?
Oh, I'm sorry. Bergeron,
Yes.
Terrell,
Yes.
Piles, no. Evans,
Yes.
Wester,
Yes.
motion carries.
Mr. Scott, I would like to make a comment that as employees come to us with their degrees, we hire based on their experience, their knowledge, and their education. To continue to give someone a stipend on the existing degree and education that they carry from year to year to year, I would recommend highly that we do not implement that pay for that degree in the future.
Thank you.
Report of the Office of Curriculum, Dr. Bloodsaw. Someone like to read this action item?
Move that the Board of Education approve the contract, a fast-track plan for implementation of aligned K-5 ELA and mathematics instructional program with KSK Consultancy at a rate of $125 per hour for 18 hours per week plus mileage for a contract term of October 1, 2022 through June 30th, 2023. Rationale, we will revisit a continued partnership with KSK Consultancy. Dr. Krantz has provided the following information. Presented in a revised contract with deliverables added to a version and 3 identified formal dates to meet in January, April, and June to review deliverables. Dr. Krantz's first contract brought before the board included 24 hours per week. Trustee Evans suggested a possible need for an increase in hours. This contract reflects 18 hours per week. The scope has been narrowed a bit, eliminating work at the high school, but includes more of the responsibilities involved in elementary projects. Dr. Krantz is negotiable for hours between 18 and 24 per week. Dr. Krantz's rate of pay is consistent with the rate paid for our grant coordinator. He indicated the hourly rate was in line with what experts/consultants were being paid for this kind of work. This work for the entire year is budgeted already and approved in Title I and Title II grants. Dr. Krantz was originally contracted to do rapid review, planning, and implementation of K-12 curriculum and instruction with a directive from previous interim superintendent, Dr. Weatherspoon, to begin at the elementary level. Budget implications are grants Title I and Title II.
Is there support? Support. Wester. Any discussion?
Madam President, I have a couple things. I've had a few phone calls from various people around the district, and to auction this piece of job off, okay, is going to offend some of our employees that do curriculum information within the school district. They would like an opportunity, you know, and I know that you haven't had a, time to go out and reach out to people, and that, they'd like the opportunity to do this, okay? Because, you know, as they're looking at it, if they can save so much money in that, next time, money's available, you know, they may be able to get a raise. So I just don't feel comfortable when we have people ourselves in here to spend that kind of money over the next year, which work out to be about $130,000. You know, I just don't feel comfortable about spending that kind of money on that when we have a lot of talent right here.
Any other comments?
No.
Roll call vote.
Evetts,
Yes.
Terrell,
I'm sorry.
Yes.
Piles, no. Bergeron,
No,
Wester,
Yes.
motion fails.
Report of our manager of operations, Mr. Bill Garland.
Can I ask about count day?
Oh, yes, I'm sorry.
That's
Ms.
okay.
Evetts. I'm so
Mr. Scott, do
sorry.
you have count days numbers for us? Can you please update the board at your earliest convenience? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Scott. Sorry, Mr. Garland, go ahead.
Good evening, Board President Wester. Coming to you tonight to get approval on relocation of 4 light poles and the rewiring of 13. The board approved bid pact 5A, which was wonderful. We know the deplorable condition of our bus loop and the fire trail that went behind Wick Elementary. But in making these incredible improvements, we've needed to widen those areas and to add more curb base and deeper curb base. So 4 of these poles are totally going to be removed and then installed, relocated. And then the others, the wiring will need to be reattached. And that's the action item that you have in front of you. And once we get approval, we will take that check immediately to DTE. They're the ones, the poles belong to them. We rent them from them, and we'll move forward with that aspect of this bid pack.
So move that the Board of Education approve billing agreement, work order 664344496 to relocate 4 streetlights at 37300 to 36900 Wick, payable to DTE at a cost of $43,755. The rationale is documents presented are part of the required electrical infrastructure changes for bid pack 5A, the bus loop project. RCS must reimburse DTE directly and upfront to remove and relocate 4 underground parking streetlights at the above location. The presented exhibits will provide additional details. Budget implications are sinking fund, and the exhibits have been provided in our packet.
Is there support?
Support.
Any discussion? Roll call vote.
Piles, yes. Evetts,
Yes.
Bergeron,
yes.
Terrell,
Yes.
Wester,
Yes.
motion carries. President Wester, if I may, just one request. I know that we have had a couple amendments to bid pack 5 and 5A with some additional costs. Just whenever, at some point before we approve our next sinking fund project, if we could just get an update on those additional costs and a running tally of what has been allocated, what has been spent, did we overspend, underspend, and where we are with that.
I can give you a little of that information now. Up to this point, all the monies that we've spent have either have been part of our contingency that we built in, or when we had change orders where they owed us money. Because there was a point where they ended up owing us somewhere around $183,000 back. So we've just been able to reutilize those funds. And most of these costs have been incurred, not this one, but most of them have been incurred due to the increases that we're seeing across the board in every aspect. And a big part of this was Wayne County, as we discussed before. Wayne County Drain Commission, they held our documents for over 6 months. And so we had to break the projects into 2 stages, which caused increased costs for remobilization. So it's been a little difficult. And again, I hate to always keep looking at COVID and supply chains and that, but that is an aspect of why the cost. But I will find out what's left in the contingency, and we may be unaffected based on any new allocations of money, because I do think we still had quite a bit left. But I'll check and let the board know.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Garland. Any other questions? Report of board subcommittees.
I don't have anything.
Nothing. Report of the board president. Ooh, that's me. We did have our superintendent search presentations on the 28th. So if we need to schedule a study session to go over those so we can look and see how we're going to proceed and what firm we want to go to. So if everyone can look at their calendars and give me a couple dates of your availability within next week we'll be at MASB. So, and then we go right into our next meeting, which is going to be on the 24th. So if we can get some dates within the next few weeks so that we can start discussing that and move forward with pursuing and getting our superintendent seat filled, that'd be greatly appreciated. Any other information? I just want to thank everybody for coming out. It's been a rough couple weeks here. Trying to get acclimated with everything that's going on. I thank Dr. Bloodsaw for stepping into this role as we maneuver and get our district moving forward for our kids and making sure our kids, that's our number one, is making sure our children receive the education that they deserve and entitled to, and making sure our staff is taken care of. So we have those positions that need to be filled. I hope, Mr. Scott, we've updated our posting so we can get some more counselors at the high school. And our high school needs, they need help. They need their assistant principals to help out. And there's secretarial positions that need to be filled. So just to be mindful of what we need to move our district forward to get these students in. We can't get them in if we don't have anybody to process stuff. So we need to make sure that is done. Another thing, we are not in COVID restrictions anymore. And kind of back to semi-normal. So I like to say, starting at our next meeting, that we will meet at central office. I think it's going to be helpful for broadcasting to our constituents.
Have you sat in those chairs? Have you been at the table and sat in the chairs?
I have not been in there since
They
we
will be
left out.
here and here. They will be, the chairs touch. So before we make that recommendation, everybody needs to sit in those chairs and make sure that everybody's comfortable, because I guarantee you will get 7 of us from Dr. Bloodsaw to me.
Duly noted. We will go in and examine that and have a final place by next meeting. Okay, we will go in. No, I've not been there since we haven't had a meeting, so
Please look at it.
we'll go in and look at that and see if that is doable. But it will be nice to get back to central office. Thank you, Trustee Evans. Now, I think I grew into this role. It was never officially voted on, so I am going to open up the nominations for board president to complete this term.
I move that we appoint Ursula Wester as our president, as I wanted to last time, but said I didn't have to.
So are you nominating Ms. Wester for president?
I would like to nominate Ms. Terrell.
No, thank you.
Terrell declines.
Terrell declines.
Mr. Bergeron can go ahead with his motion if there's no more.
There's no more nominations.
Move
So-
the nominations be closed.
So the motion was made by Bergeron to elect Ms. Wester and supported by
Terrell.
Terrell.
And we have the motion.
Are we, any more are we closing discussion?
Yes, there's no
Okay.
more nominations.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
I'd like to, now we have the seat opened up for nominations for vice president.
I'll nominate myself.
Any other nominations? I nominate Denisa Terrell.
Accept.
Accept.
Close the floor.
We're closing the nominations.
Okay, so first motion is move that the Board of Education elect Sue Evans as vice president. Is there support?
Support.
Piles? No. Evans?
Yes.
Terrell?
No.
Bergeron?
No.
Wester?
No.
Motion fails. Move that the Board of Education elect Denisa Terrell as vice president.
Support.
Bergeron?
Yeah.
Piles, yes. Bergeron?
Yes.
Terrell?
Yes.
Evans?
No.
Wester?
Yes.
Motion carries.
We need to have a motion for nominations open for board secretary, treasurer.
Forgot about that one.
You need paper.
Yeah, I can run back. And nominate Pete Bergeron.
Is there any other nominations? Nominations closed.
I move that the Board of Education elect Pete Bergeron as treasurer.
Support.
Piles, I'm sorry. Close. Piles, yes. Terrell,
Yes.
Evans,
No.
Bergeron,
Yes.
Wester.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Communications from board members.
Are you going to do secretary?
There's not an opening.
Not an opening.
Oh.
Communication from board members. Trustee Bergeron.
No.
Trustee.
Do we have to
sorry.
vote for the secretary or just
No.
remain the secretary?
She remains.
Who?
She remains. Vice President Terrell.
I just wanted to say, we've been receiving a lot of communications, and we hear you. We hear your concerns, and we will be, we want everyone to feel like their contributions are appreciated, and we want our students to benefit from it. So I just want you to continue to communicate so that if there's some things that we're not aware of, we're able to address it. And that's it.
Thank you.
Trustee Evans?
Okay, I'm going to start out by making a statement. 1/3 of our high school students are not target to graduate. Then I want to look at safety. Dr. Weatherspoon and then President Kennard were working on the schedule for ALICE training with RPD and an organization, G6, to do a security audit. This has not been implemented since the initial topic was brought forth. Number 2, Romulus Middle School security. Dr. Weatherspoon, in conjunction with the administrators, instructed the main ambassador to be at the middle school due to fighting/behavior issues of the students. That ambassador has repeatedly been seen at the high school with no regard to the assignment. An email was sent from the principal at the middle school requesting security because a staff member was hurt while breaking up a fight. Where were the ambassadors? After the vote on Monday, the 26th of September, she then sent an email saying the head ambassador could handle the school. Again, where were the ambassadors when the fight broke loose? New educational programs. META, a life skills program that incorporates math, reading, and science. These classes were in the process of being accredited as CTE classes by KSK Consulting. However, tonight, once again, we voted down a curriculum consultant. When are our students going to get the education that they are entitled to? When? DBG, a program to help those scholars in need of social, emotional issues, including behavior, mentoring, and tutoring. This is a 12-month program. However, it's being challenged at every time it's brought up at this table. The third year, what's it going to cost us? The third year, what is it going to cost us? Putting the negative impact out there about DBG. Bright Futures. At every building with the implementation of K2 students, when they were here, I questioned what can we do for our K2 because all other programs start at 3. They made the statement that they would attempt to bring in K2. The 3 programs are supplemental and will help teachers. With these 3 programs, no students will go without attention, academically, socially, or life skills. Athletic programs. A skilled athletic director was hired. He reviewed the program and determined the need for higher level of coaching in certain sports. No one was told they were losing their jobs. Each year, through EduStaff, coaches are placed. It is never a guarantee that coaches RCS will get. The thought behind higher level of coaches was and is to help our existing coaches grow in skills and thus play on a level of potential college or professional ball. But we must educate these athletes also. Study hall was mandated as part of practices. The coaches have yet to do this. Again, how are we going to teach our kids if we can't even get the curriculum in? Finance. In December, there was a need to have RISA do our payroll. The motion was brought forth. 3 of 7 voted no to pay our teachers our staff during the holidays. Our audit is on track for the first time in 2 years. Our state aid will not be withheld, and programs were put in place with checks and balances to get our audits in better shape. Media centers. Media tech positions were changed to technical support positions, removing the responsibilities of the media centers, i.e. students' ability to check out books, group readings by the librarian, organization, etc. These positions were changed by the previous superintendent. Dr. Weatherspoon added money in the budget for media centers. He asked a union president to work in conjunction with the Romulus Library and Ms. Hampton. The union representative refused. My final statement. The coup that took place on September 26th is sad for this district. For the first time in many years, students were the focus. Certain people sitting at this table were part of the reason for declining enrollment and personnel issues by micromanaging the staff and administration. Refusal to sign a resolution to work together yelling at Deb Straight of MASB that they don't need anyone to tell them anything. I started out by stating 1/3 of our high school students are not targeted to graduate. Parents, students, and staff, is this acceptable? And again, I will say it every day, we are not training our staff with curriculum. Is this what this table wants, to go backward instead of forward? Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Chair,
Thank you, Ms. Evans. Secretary File.
Yes, as far as points of pride and positive things in the district, since our last meeting, we have been receiving data on our students, and I know that questions were asked starting last spring as far as how many of our students are not on track to graduate. Dr. Bloodsaw, thank you for bringing the recommendation to help address that with the 18 credits and for following through and making sure that our students and their families are aware of this provision and supplying the supports that students need for this. Again, I hope that it is a priority to get counselors hired to help our students make sure they understand what's required to graduate. One email was sent out to parents in the high school, and I do want to highlight this. We are excited to restart credit recovery courses via Edgenuity on Wednesday, October 5th. This opportunity will allow students to make up classes and credits that they missed as high school scholars for free. Students are required to have 22 credits for graduation, which now is 18. This includes 4 math, 4 social studies/history, 4 science, and 4 language arts classes. Please take advantage of this great chance to get back on track for graduation. That was sent to every family in our high school. So I'm glad that we are focusing on that now, and that Mr. Petty took the initiative to send that out. Regarding the middle school, I know President Wester, we had talked about the link was broken. If not tonight, but if at some point, if you can
That's back working.
get us an update on if we've hired more bodies. I did go visit the middle school after we heard those safety concerns and that they don't have enough bodies. And what I heard from staff there is that the security, the ambassadors that we have are actually invested in our students and they need more bodies. But could we please hire people from the community and train them so that we get people who are investing in our students? I did inquire about the fight, and what I was told was it started off 2 students playing around. A 3rd student thought it was a real fight and jumped in, and that's when someone got hurt, but it was broken up very quickly. Meta, I've heard good things about Meta from our students. They're excited to have this as an option. Many are saying that they wish they could have chosen the lab of their own interest instead of being assigned. So I don't know if that's something that could be looked at for 2nd semester. And then DBG, I shared with some people, there was a wonderful article that was published in Cranes, October 3rd, I believe, about DBG and the work they do and going international, but they also highlighted the program, them coming to Romulus Community School. So that is good publicity for us as well. And that's all I have.
Just to thank everyone for coming out. If we can get some research done as it relates to our enrollment numbers. Also, Mr. Garland, there's a couple things I'm going to reach out to you with, because last week we were given some pictures of certain things, so we can follow back up with those parents that had the questions. I know there was one young lady that had a question today as it relates to our inside of our buildings. I just want to thank all of our staff for all the hard work that you all have been doing. It has been a struggle, it has been, and I'll just keep reiterating to make sure that we get the positions posted so that we can get our students and get these seats filled.
before we close out, Mr. Bergeron, you had one other comment?
Yes, I do. First of all, I think that, you know, with all due respect, so, a group of people on this board got rid of a very, very popular superintendent, okay? And then you come back and you spend $2 million on programs, MITA program and the boxing program, $2 million. You fired him because you said that he was spending money, blowing money, stealing money. I said, that is ridiculous, okay? Now, then you mentioned the junior high. Anybody do anything about that? I'm gonna tell you what I did. I got a hold of Reverend Willis, who is a pastor for the Detroit Police Department, and he's going through the schools in Detroit, teaching these kids how to get along. I got him hooked up with the principals at the middle school, and he's starting a program over there now, okay? When you're in power, you do something about it. You don't sit there and bitch about it, okay? That's what you do, you know? And
Mr.
you know, with
Bergeron,
all
we
due
gonna-
respect, I
Mr.
respect you, sir,
Bergeron.
but the bottom line is
Mr.
that
Bergeron,
you guys started it.
that's one thing, we're gonna stop badgering each other back and forth across the table. We're making, you know, good points, good strides, but we gotta remember the reason that we're here, okay? I know we are all passionate and we all have our beliefs of how we wanna see our district ran. But we still have to remember, we gotta be decent and in
So
order.
as long as we don't mention names, everything is
Yeah.
cool.
Everybody went across doing it, we're just gonna stop and move forward. You gotta be the bigger person.
Can't be. You're talking about
We-
our kids.
we're gonna
You're talking
agree-
about our community.
We're gonna agree to disagree tonight, but again, thank everyone. There is, I have to get the date as it relates to the Alice training. It is coming up, and I will make sure to shoot that out. I don't have it written down now. It is scheduled to come up very soon with, the RPD. So that was given out. I know the link is back working with the ambassadors. I know the ambassadors at the middle school only had 2. So we really have to make sure that we step up and make sure there is security around to make sure our children and our staff are safe. So on that note, I like to motion to adjourn.
Support.
All in favor?
Aye.
8:56.